Philly Startup Leaders presents Founder Factory 2015. This program was recorded January 13th, 2015 at The Hub at Cirrus Center in Philadelphia. This year's Founder Factory is brought to you by these sponsors: Broadpath, the Innovation Center at 3401, Startup PHL, and Morgan Lewis. In video number 10, Wiley Cerilli, the founder and CEO of Single Platform and a partner in First Round Capital, discusses the process of onboarding and training your first salespeople.
All right, we have one last speaker before the day wraps up. I do want to mention that there are a few more copies of Traction the book out at the front desk. It's pay what you wish, so whatever you think it's worth, go up there, plunk it down on the table, and that book is yours. There's also the photo booth back there, which is real fun, so try that out if you haven't already. With that, I'm going to welcome up Wiley Cerilli as I trip over that chair, who is a partner at First Round Capital, and other stuff too. So he has his own computer with his own deck, is that right? You want to just try to plug that in, see if it works? All right, with that, everybody welcome Wiley.
Thanks. That's not what I wanted. Well, thanks for having me. End of a long but good day, hopefully. So I'm going to talk about making your first sales and onboarding your first sales team, and leave some time at the end for some questions. So my background, I dropped out of NYU when I was 19 years old and joined the founding team of Seamless Web, which is an online food ordering system. At the time we had 5 people, didn't really have an online ordering system. We were walking around handwriting orders down, faxing them to the restaurants. They wouldn't deliver, so then we'd go to the restaurants, pick up the food, deliver the food ourselves. So it wasn't exactly like a seamless process, but by the time I left, we had a few hundred people. We were doing around $350 million in sales. I was on the executive team there for 10 years, and I ran sales and marketing. One of the key takeaways from my experience at Seamless was in the beginning when our product was crap, and selling that was difficult. We would call up restaurants and say, listen, we've got this online food ordering system, we'd really like to meet with you, and no one wanted to meet with us. So then I spent a few days in restaurants and realized that all these people were coming in selling to these restaurant owners, and the restaurant owners were either really nice to people if they weren't trying to sell them something, if they're customers, or they were not so nice if they were coming in to sell them something. So I decided, why not try to flip the script and instead go in as buyers. So the idea is, if I worked at Goldman Sachs and I was calling to set up a corporate account with the restaurant, I wouldn't call up and say, hey, listen, do you have 15 minutes later on today or tomorrow or any time I want to tell you about Goldman Sachs and how we can send you some orders, because it wouldn't be very natural. They would call up and say, hi, I manage food ordering for Goldman Sachs. I'm considering opening up a corporate account, and I have 15 minutes today at 2:15. So that's how we took our sales approach at Seamless Web. We call a restaurant and say, hi, we're deciding to open up a corporate account with one, say, Indian restaurant this week, and it's between you and one other place. We have a bunch of questions to see if you qualify. We'd qualify them over the phone, meet with them in person, and get back to them the following week and extend to them the invitation. So we went in as buyers, and that concept then bled into Single Platform, where we used it not only to sign local businesses, but also large publishers. Single Platform, so we sold Seamless Web. I was there for 10 years, and then I left and I was the sole founder and CEO of Single Platform. And Single Platform is one stop for local business to input whatever they sell. So if it's a restaurant, their menu; if it's a florist, the bouquets of flowers. They hit publish, it updates their website, mobile site, and then our publisher network, made up of, say, Google and Facebook and Yelp and all these sites that we didn't have in the beginning. So we did the buyer's mentality again with Single Platform when we were trying to get publishers. We didn't have publishers for the first 2 years of business, but finally we launched in January 2012 with Foursquare, New York Times, and Yellow Pages, and we positioned it the same way. all these publishers were saying no to our data. And so instead, we flipped it and said, okay, we're going to be launching single platform in January, and we want to launch it with one app, announce it with one app. We want to announce it with one local guide and one newspaper. And we got 3 of the top brands. We announced it, we had them announce it, and then we signed Google and all these top publishers within a 2.5-week period. And then we had term sheets coming in. Started single platform. We were funded by First Round Capital and some other early stage investors. We raised a total of $4 million. We had signed a term sheet to do a $17 million round of funding, and then we were acquired by Constant Contact for $100 million in cash in 2012. I was on the executive team at Constant Contact for 2 years, and then I quit and joined First Round. If you're not familiar with First Round, they're actually started here and based out of Philly. I think they're the best early stage fund in the world. Some of the companies you probably know of are like Uber and Birchbox and Warby Parker. On Deck just went public. So they invest in startups. They typically write around 650K checks, 500K to $1 million checks. I'm here because I want to meet at First Round, because I want to meet with amazing entrepreneurs that are starting big businesses, because ultimately I want to start another business. So that's a little bit about me, and then we can go into what I want to talk to you about. So before hiring the team, so this is what before you have a sales team, there's a few things that I always tell founders that they need to commit to. One is the customer type. So for single platform, instead of approaching restaurants and bars and salons and spas and florists, we picked one type of restaurant, a delivery restaurant, and we picked only delivery restaurants in top 10 markets, and only delivery restaurants that had 1 to 2 locations. And so we didn't go after any other types of restaurants. And the reason why is that we didn't want to start selling to all these different customers and have some things work, some things not work, and then not really know what was working. I see a lot of startups try to sell to a wide variety of clients, and the challenge is that they can't seem to do it really well, and they don't know really what's working, and there's different solutions that apply for different types of businesses. So one of the things we try to do is we tried to go after one type of restaurant. So we went after that one type of restaurant, then we expanded to dining restaurants, then we expanded to markets outside those markets, then we went to florists and spas and salons. And from an investor standpoint, what they want to see is not that you can sell to everyone, but that you can sell to one category really, really well, and then they're going to assume that you're going to be able to sell to everybody else. So we pick one customer to sell to. Another thing to commit to before you hire a salesperson is the solution. So, 10 years ago or 15 years ago when we were starting Seamless, we didn't have a lot of options to build a lot of features because one, money wasn't that readily available. There weren't a lot of open APIs, so it's not like we could build a lot of features. You're at an advantage now when you're starting companies. You can launch and you can have 10 different things. The disadvantage is really that a lot of startups launch and they feel like they have to launch with not just one solution but 10 solutions. When I was starting single platform, when I would go out and sell. For the first 3 months before I actually decided to fundraise, I went out with the PowerPoint and sold the idea of single platform. And everybody said no, but I saw their reaction to certain slides, say the 10 slides that I had, and then I'd go back, I'd revamp the slides and then go back out. And I did that for 3 months until the point that I could sign up one business a day that was ready to write me a check. I wouldn't take the checks, but the idea was that I went out and my initial slide deck had 10 different solutions in it, and I figured out which solution that they were going to want, and then I built that one solution. I think there's this, people feel a need to build 10 different things because they see competition doing 10 different things, but what ends up happening is they launch with 10 features and all their features suck and they're not really known for anything. And so you can't really be very good at one thing. I think competition oftentimes, I would always consider what our competition was doing, and I always felt like I needed to build what they were doing. But then I always thought, if I can do one thing really, really well, then again, investors are going to assume that I could then do that same, build other solutions that really work. Mike Tyson was, in his prime, was being interviewed for this fight. And the guy who was interviewing said, Mike, the person that you're going to fight has has this plan to fight you. They're going to do this, this, and this. What's your plan? And Mike Tyson said, well, everybody has a plan when they step in the ring with me, and then I punch them in the face, right? So the idea is like, what is going to be your knockout punch? Because you can't be the strongest, you can't be the fastest, you can't have, the most, you can't have all those things. So like, what is going to be your one solution that you're going to sell? Because another part is that if you try to sell 10 things, then you don't, again, going back to the original point, you don't really know what people are buying. The next thing you need to commit to is the script and the cadence of changing it. So we are religious about our scripts at Single Platform and at Seamless Web. We script out word for word what we want every single one of our salespeople to say. And that was whether we were signing on large banks, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, or all the biggest hedge funds, all the biggest law firms. All of our responses for our salespeople was detailed out word by word. Our pitches are in front of our salespeople. They need to read it word by word. They take written tests when we onboard them. It sounds a little control crazy, but it's not. Before we bring on a salesperson, if we're not committed to a script, what happens is we bring salespeople on, and then they get a couple no's, and then they think that no's mean they need to change what their pitch is. And then they start going off in different directions, and what ends up happening is they could have 2 good sales calls, and it's just by pure luck, and now they think that this sales script works. So we dedicate a ton of time to getting the right script, and the cadence to changing it just means, we would sit in a room and test this one opening line of an email, of a call to see how many meetings we would get, and we know it's 200 calls, 200 minutes on the phone, 100 calls, we set 10 meetings, we hold 6, close 2. And we know which script those metrics are. So when we're testing our scripts, we know what the metrics are, so that when we onboard people, we can then say, okay, you're not getting enough meetings because you're not making enough calls, and that's because you're not following as part of the script. So we're very, very religious about the script that we use. When hiring your first few salespeople, I always say to hire 3 to 4 people if you can, typically, because especially if it's your first time hiring a sales team, you're probably going to make a few mistakes. If you hire one at a time, you're going to dedicate a lot of time for training, and then people don't necessarily work out, and you don't have that much time and that much money to prove certain metrics, and then your investors start looking at you like you don't know how to onboard and hire people. So we typically hire groups of 3 to 4 people. Now with Single Platform, they're onboarding about 15 salespeople a month. We have a whole staff dedicated to hiring and onboarding people. We're especially picky with those first 3-4 hires. Actually, it took us about 6 months to get the first group of 3-4 hires, and there's a number of reasons for that. One of the biggest reasons, again, is going back to investors. They're going to look at these metrics. So we raised our round of funding, our seed round of funding, and our Series A, and what was going to be our $17 million round of funding based on our sales metrics of how quickly it took us to get a salesperson to be cash flow positive. So we could onboard a salesperson and make them cash flow positive within a few weeks, which was really impressive. So we had a choice. Do you onboard sales teams, every month and start to increase our revenues and grow our revenues aggressively, or do we not and we space out our sales team? We decided to space out our sales team so that every 3-4 months we'd onboard another, say, 3 to 5 people, which maybe goes against conventional wisdom. When you're raising money, you say, okay, let's look at the revenue growth. But what we knew is that they're going to look at the metrics for our cost to acquire a customer instead. So when we were acquired for that $100 million, we only did around $30,000 revenue that month. Which there may be startups in the room that are doing more than that now. But the idea was that we had a machine that could onboard salespeople and get them quickly scaled into the business and cash flow positive very quickly. The profiles of the salespeople that we're hiring, both for the people that we're signing on law firms and banks and local businesses, were pretty much right out of school, very little sales experience. We don't typically like hiring a lot of people with a lot of sales experience because they come in with bad habits. Our salespeople are natural salespeople, but I'd say we'd have the most success for people that came from state schools, that had paid jobs during college, value and appreciate the working hard while you're in school, and we have we ask them a lot of unique questions. So we'll ask them whether they had a lemonade stand growing up, which sounds like a weird question, but if you ask a lot of salespeople that, you'll find out that the best salespeople did have lemonade stands growing up, and they also sold like flowers, or they drew pictures, they sold cookies. They're salespeople that were salespeople since they were very young. We asked them if they didn't sell when they were younger, to sell something in the room, sell us a chair, sell us ketchup versus mustard versus ketchup, just to see how quickly they think on their feet. We don't really care as much about the content, more about can they respond quickly. The person on the front line should be great. And what I mean by that is just the person that's actually doing the hiring. So if it's you as a CEO, then of course you're going to do a great job. But if it's not, and you're handing it off to someone who's more in an HR role, we always took a lot of time to make sure that person was going to be the right person for it. And they're almost like a salesperson in themselves, because salespeople have a lot of job opportunities. And so we had basically a salesperson responsible for taking all these interviews over the phone and selling the company to these people, which was step one, getting them really excited about working there. Managing expectations for people. I'd say most of our salespeople don't make it beyond a year and a half. They churn out quickly, which sounds like a not so great work environment, but actually our work environment, our culture is one of the things I'm most proud of. We are always in the top 20 places to work in New York, which is odd because you think people are hired and then they churn out in a year and a half. But that's because we do a lot of great things to celebrate our people, celebrate our wins. And when you're on the phones 200 minutes a day, making 100 calls and most of them are no's, you can't really do that position for that long. So we are very upfront about how many no's that they're going to get and the grind of the job. Because if you're not, and you just sell them on this beautiful vision of this incredible startup and how quickly it's going to grow, what you end up happening is you end up having much higher churn. With compensation, just a few tips with compensation. We tend to do quarterly bonuses instead of commission. And there'd be a minimum threshold for them in order to hit that threshold. And the reason why we did that is because your goals change so much within a sales organization that we want to be able to ramp up goals each quarter. And so if we did it as a percentage of sales, then it made it very difficult for us to increase the goals as we brought new sales people in. Happy to talk about different tips for hiring VPs of sales as well when we get to Q&A if you want. So for the first week, this is take a minute, but really the first step that we do is we get them bought into the business. We're basically brainwashing the salespeople as much as possible, with as much positive content, which I'll get to in a minute, so that at the end of a few days, they're thinking, why would anyone ever say no to this product? We talk about the art of the sale, sticking to the script and why it works. We give them written tests, what winning looks like and sounds like. So we have them listen to hours of existing salespeople on the phone. We record all of our calls. Our sales managers are very engaged. So during that week, they're actually dialing into sales calls and listening. So they hear people say no. They hear how salespeople combat all the different things that people are bringing up. We bring in leaders from other departments, obviously, and we also fire quickly, which sounds a little harsh, but we do. We know what the indicators are for people that are going to be successful, and you as a leader need to do your job and protect your environment, and you also need to do the right thing for the person. So we fire most people, I'd say, within the first couple weeks. If they're getting beyond the first month, they're usually there for a while. But because we know our metrics so well and the script so well, what success sounds like, we can fire people pretty quickly. Hands-on coaching is the right term. The managers, so we have one manager per 12 salespeople. They're on their feet all day, and they have sort of like command center. It's a stand-up desk in the middle of the room. They're dialing in. They're required to listen to at least an hour of phone calls per person on the floor. They take notes. We have a form that I'll show you what it looks like. They have one-on-one meetings with all their salespeople every week. This is a weekly one-on-one session. And these are all things that they're required to fill out. This is obviously fake content, but they're documenting everything. And then this is their weekly one-on-one listening session. So they're taking notes during those cold calls. They're also, when they're listening to these calls, they're actually dialed in. They can talk to the salesperson and say, "Hey, listen, say this right now." or they can actually take the call over and take the sale over if they want, or if the salespeople raises their hands. So again, this sort of like forces people to get really good feedback. And my favorite part about what we do and one of the reasons why we have such a successful sales culture and culture in general is going back to the brainwashing part. There's a ton of positive reinforcement. So one of the things we do is the close of the week. So salespeople submit their close of the week to a sales manager. They say, I did this great close, and what a close of the week would be is someone who really didn't want to sign up, and then the salesperson like turned them around, some sort of story like that. They submit it to their managers, the managers listen to it on a weekly basis, and they play it to the whole sales floor. So now you have all the salespeople that are listening to objections, and then the salesperson turn that person around. So that next time they're on the phone, when they hear that, they know how to react. We have customers and account managers tell their story. So on the previous slide, I talked about the meetings that we have with our sales floor. Every Monday and every Friday morning, we have all the salespeople have a meeting. We bring up account managers, so someone in customer service, someone in account management, to share wow stories. And wow stories are anytime our customer has an amazing experience with single platform, and they say, wow, this was an amazing thing. I love this system. Whatever it is, fill in the blank. And we have hundreds or thousands of those. Account managers will stand up and read those comments or tell the stories firsthand. Usually they're telling the stories the firsthand, because we found when we email out these wow stories to people, they just sort of glaze over them. But when an account manager stands up and talks about it, you actually feel the emotion that the account manager had. So we have a story of the week, which is just someone emailing in or calling in and telling them how much they love single platform. We have a story of the week where someone's calling to cancel and they decide to re-up because they have all this value. And we have, we have these wow stories that cover our entire office. So every time we get one of these stories, we put them on an 8.5 piece of paper, and then we put them all over the office. So we actually have thousands of these wow stories all over the office. Whether you're in customer service, you're in sales, you're constantly seeing these stories of our customers are winning. And that's what we want our salespeople to know, is that we want to demonstrate to them that the people that they're selling to are winning with our system. What does winning look like? So we give them monthly reports of, here are the people that logged into the system the most this last month. And they get to see, oh yeah, I signed that place up 2 months ago. Here are your fastest growing accounts. Here are the accounts that are winning awards. Here are the accounts that just re-upped. Here are the accounts that, just did a new integration with us, that's just bought into the new system. So they constantly have dozens and dozens of examples of accounts that they signed up, that they pushed to sign up, that are winning with single platform. And all that does is every time that they're on the phone, they know that they will push extra hard to get those accounts signed up, because they want those accounts to win. So we have a very aggressive sales force, and they're aggressive because they know that our customers are going to be better off if they work with single platform. Hoopla is, I think it's like $10 a month. There's a couple systems that do this, but it links up to like Salesforce, and you can set it looks like ESPN, and every time someone makes a sale, we have these TV screens around the office, and the salesperson's face goes up on the screen, and it plays like a song that they picked. We have all these different sales competitions, so it gives like updates as far as which teams are winning, how many hours are left in the how many days are left in the month for selling. What percentage of goal people are at. So it's just these screens that are constantly, and the wow stories are popping up on these Hoopla screens. So again, just a lot of positive reinforcement. We do a lot of team competitions instead of individual competitions. I like individual competitions, and those are fine. I feel like it's more of a team environment, that if we all win, like if teams are competing against other teams, then usually what ends up happening is we get the lift from the C salespeople. An example of that is we used to comp people a monthly bonus if they spent an average of 200 minutes on the phone a month. So you spend 200 minutes on the phone a month, then you get a $200 bonus, right, at the end of the month. Not a huge amount, but still an amount. 80% of people would hit that average. 20% wouldn't. Why wouldn't the 20%? I don't know. But so what we did is we switched it around. We said, okay, fine, it's $100 if you hit yours, and then $100 if every single person on the team hits their average, right? So who's going to be the whatever, fill in the blank, that's going to cost everyone, all their friends, $100. So you can sort of play with these different levers, especially if you do like team kind of things that can increase either the top people, like accelerators, or the bottom people that you need to lift up. Yeah, we have we have Legos around our office. So if people hit like certain goals, it just, you have these Lego towers. It's just it's a lot of fun. You're constantly a king of the hill every week. King of the hill, the queen of the hill for the top sales people of the week. That's it. I tried to make this thing go very quickly because I know this is the last one of the day. Any questions for me about sales, fundraising, whatever? Yep. Yeah, sure.
So considering you have this pretty much a sales machine, why would it be then considered to use your sales machine as an outsourced provider to your customers?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Meaning you have your customers who use your service might also like to take advantage of your sales machine, their businesses. It seems like now I'm sitting here as a startup founder thinking to myself, I would love to not necessarily run a machine like that, because you're already doing it probably better than I can do it, or I'm sitting with my resources. Why wouldn't I just say, hey, can I outsource my sales to you?
Yeah, so I think there are companies that do that. And I think that's great, and I can send you some of the companies that do that for different stage companies. So some for companies that's just an idea, some for enterprise, some for local sales. I think you get different types of people at different phases of the business. So there's like the testing phase of the business where everyone's wearing multiple hats and running around. It's like a family, 1 to 10, 15 people. There's a tuning phase of the business where it's like 15 people to 50 people. You sort of found your magic, getting ready to scale, and then there's a scale. For the people that were working at Single Platform at the time, I think they were working extra hard because we were all bought into this vision of where we wanted to get the business to. I don't know if I would have gotten the same caliber of people if I sold them on the vision of doing that. But I think there's a great business to be built for just doing that. And I know people that specialize in just helping startups get their first 20 customers. But for me, my passion is building an enormous business, and we had an opportunity to be acquired by a public company and take that so that we wouldn't necessarily even have to do sales. Constant Contact is onboards 45,000 customers a month without having any outbound sales, which I found fascinating. So unique opportunity to jump aboard a rocket ship. So we took it. But happy to talk to you afterwards and give some recommendations.
You mentioned that bringing someone with a lot of experience in the sales side early on might be detrimental because you mentioned something about bad habits. Just a little more.
I don't think it's just bad habits. It's just different. Going back to the test, tune, scale thing. I don't really enjoy the once the business is really starting to scale, it's scaled now. I get bored. I also don't think I'm necessarily very good at it. Usually people are good at one of those phases. You have the visionary, very enthusiastic leaders early on, very passionate. You bring in the MBAs a little bit later on. The people that are typically that have more sales experience are people that maybe came in, sold gold during the gold rush, right? Or sold, they're really good at selling boxes and building teams that sell boxes. But really what you need is, I'm not sure if it's a box or it's a circle. So building something is different than building out, So it's a very different skill set. You also have people, especially in sales, that don't necessarily want to go back to rolling up their sleeves. So one of the things that when we're interviewing a head of a VP of sales is we'll say that you need to do sales for the first 6 to 9 months and see how they react. Because if the really good ones will actually want to come in and do sales, because they will sort of want to earn their keep and they want to understand the sales process. I just think you're working with someone that has a lot of habits already, doesn't want to work around the clock, has a lot of options. So I think you need to be really careful. I think it's the mistake that I see most startups make when they have sales. They bring in someone who's senior, and then they talk about pipeline. They end up firing them 6 months later, and it doesn't work out. Yeah.
process of how did you get to that perfect script that you knew that worked?
From a timing perspective, the perfect script?
Like the process that you went through to craft it together. What did you do at each?
Yeah, so it was 3 months that we spent. So the question was around how much time did I spend like perfecting that script. It was 3 months of me going out to figure out what the one customer was and what the one solution was. I onboarded a VP of sales, and like he was like the perfect VP of sales. He was a top salesperson at this other company, and he then took on training new hires and managing them for the first like month or so. But he was like step up, like chip on his shoulder, wanted to be the VP of sales. So he came in and did, I think it was about 6 months of sales that we did together, sitting in the same room, and we would test and tweak the script every couple weeks. So it took us about 6 months to get it to where we felt confident onboarding a salesperson, knowing that if they followed this script and these rules, that they would be successful. Yeah.
Can you talk more about how you came to acquire? You were at Seamless.
Yeah. So the idea is that we would interview people. We wanted to feel like it wasn't them picking us; it was us picking them. So we put a time frame around it. So we're launching so one of the things we did when we expanded to new markets is we would require our law firms, we'd say, we're only going to have 3 anchor clients in San Francisco. And if you're going to be one of our anchor law firms, here's what you need to do. You need to agree to close down your corporate accounts. You need to agree to put on letterhead, give us your letterhead. We actually got their letterhead, and then we'd mail out with their signatures on it letters to all the different restaurants saying, effective by X date, we're going to be sending all of our food orders through Seamless, and contact blah 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 to see if you're right, if there's a good fit for the program for you. So it made it so that they were all of a sudden selling to us. So we did it both for the law firms, and we said it's going to be press around you, and you're going to be the person that people like, the innovative HR person or the ops manager at your company, because you're the one who brought Seamless Web to San Francisco. But here's what you need to do. So we did that with publishers for Seamless Web. We did that with local business for a single platform. We did that for publishers for a single platform. Yep.
You mentioned that you pick first customer type or category. What are the criteria that you look for in that first customer type or category? Is it the best possible fit for you, something you would buy quickly, or it would be a mountain and not?
All right. So who would be that first one? So we specifically picked delivery restaurants because we knew that they were going to we knew that if we could sell it to them, we could sell it to pretty much everybody. Restaurants are like the hardest category to sell to, and we knew we were eventually going to we're going to have to go into restaurants, and we felt like we could probably deliver them with the least amount of work, the most amount of value, and also show that if we could do that with restaurants, with these delivery restaurants, that we could do it with everybody else. I mean, our product was really crappy. I mean, it was like 1 month in that I remember there was this one day where the word come in for sex at 8 o'clock was posted on every one of our restaurants' websites, mobile sites, and Facebook accounts because someone typed in come in to watch Sex in the City at 8 o'clock, and we built it into the system so if someone types any one of these words, it stops them from posting it, locks them out of their account. But instead what was done is they built it so that it locked them out of their account, posted it, stopped it after the word sex, and then posted on all of our accounts and locked everybody out. I said, we built the original product for like 25 grand. So it was not a great thing, but we knew that with limited resources, that the restaurants that we were going after would buy it, and they get enough value out of it that we could prove what we wanted to prove to then now raise money and go after the higher end restaurants, which we were going to need more money for to build out the product and make it really good. So that's how we picked them. Yep.
Can you talk about maintaining and preserving sort of honesty and authenticity in an early stage product when the product is highly imperfect and you're dealing with a lot of pivoting and changing about what the product actually is?
Yeah, so I think a lot of that has to do with going back to one of my first points, like try not to do a lot of like 10 things. So if you can pick, like one of the things we did, we wanted to, at the end of a pitch, we'd say, here are 10 other things that we're looking at doing, but not necessarily doing. So one of the examples was likes. So next to every single menu item, there was a thumbs up. And so we built it so that on all of our publishers, if you clicked on the thumbs up, it actually turned like green or orange. Because the idea was, if we could track likes across all of our publishers and aggregate millions of likes, we could say, okay, if you like this, then you're gonna like this burger, you're gonna like this restaurant, you're gonna like this, whatever it is. But instead of like promising that we're gonna build it, we said, here are 10 things that we could build, and then we actually made it so that when you clicked on it, it turned green, you refreshed the screen, it actually went away. So there's really no value in pushing like unless you like the color green. But we were gathering all this data to then, if it made sense for us to build it, we would build it. So I think I think the tendency is that you want to overpromise and overdeliver, and so I think if you stick to that one, if you stick to that one solution, then and you get comfortable saying no, then you're going to be in a much better place. And I think with Seamless, we made so many mistakes saying yes to Goldman Sachs wanted to customize this version, customize that, and customize this. And so then all of a sudden we built Dining at My Desk, powered by Seamless, and we had all these. It was just an enormous lift. And then what we realized is that every time someone would say, hey, can you do this? And we said yes, we would do it, and then they wouldn't use it. So instead, we would just build some fake buttons, which we learned from Mint. And Mint, the product manager at Mint would build fake buttons. Not a lot of them, obviously. You can't log in; everything doesn't work. But we would test things, not across all of our users, to see if people would actually click on it. So I think the more you can focus on that one solution, and if the solution sucks, then fine, you're going to find out really quickly because you're selling just that one solution, and then you can move on. But I think it's like one of the most difficult things to do as a founder is when people say, "Can you do this?" and you say yes, and then like not build it, especially when competition's doing it. I think it's really difficult. Yep.
What do you think is the essence of a great salesperson? Like, what does a great salesperson look at?
So I think one of the things they do, like some of the best salespeople, is so they will. So every time we have an offsite, we have my executive coach come in, who I've had for a while, and she does this thing. We actually do it for our entire company. It's like a personality test, and you find out if you're a controller, a stabilizer, analyzer, persuader, and analyzers like data. Persuaders are like enthusiastic. They like adjectives. They like to celebrate. Controllers want answers right away. They don't want to dilly-dally and talk about your social life. And then stabilizers want harmony across the team. Usually you have one dominant and then one secondary. And I think some of the best salespeople, what they do is they go in, and what I don't like about some salespeople is they go in, they try to sort of throw their style down your throat. I think the better salespeople will adjust to your style. So it's hard for me to adjust in this room, but if you're in a room with a really good salesperson, what they will do is they're going to very quickly identify whether you're an analyzer and whether you want data, and they'll strip all the adjectives out of their pitch. They'll slow things down. They'll provide a lot more like case studies, as opposed to persuaders want the excitement of the glory of whatever it is you're going to do next, and controllers don't even want a presentation. They just want to skip right to the end. They want to get to pricing. So I think some of the things the best salespeople do is that, and I think also back to her point, which is balancing, like knowing how much to say yes, and knowing the product timeline. It's a really difficult thing to do. Yep.
Just a question about sales culture and just how it's so different than engineering culture.
Yeah.
And how you kind of mix the two. And also, I find myself oftentimes trying to explain to other engineers and other teams in my company about like the benefit of building a sales organization. I feel like the world only knows about the boiler rooms of the world, so it's like always considered a really bad thing. So I'm just wondering kind of how you socialize building sort of a business organization, sales organizations being like a good thing, how to sort of convey the vision of that being a positive thing.
Yeah, so I'd say it depends on which phase of the business that you're in. I'd say like in that first family phase, the testing phase, in a room, there's a couple of salespeople. I think even the engineers love them because they're like, oh my God, we make one sale and it's so exciting and the whole team is celebrating. Once you start to get to be like a tribe or an organization, you start to specialize more. Engineers don't want the noise. They find them annoying. They find them overpromising. And so we really try to, and the way that you communicate to your team earlier on, the whole company is different than, like what works then is different from the way you communicate to an organization. So one of the things we try to do is we try to mix them up as much as possible. So we do these mixed lunches, and we'll take a salesperson, an account manager, an engineer, and we send them off to lunch without like a senior person there. And we do that every single day. And the collaboration is, the collaboration you see when you do that is amazing. People start, they start listening to each other. Right, because the difference is like having a happy hour and karaoke. You're going to a certain section of the people there. So integrating more during the workday is more important. And so the lunches alone was a big thing. And you can't thrust sort of how you celebrate wins to an engineering team. Like they don't even want to be called out, right? So like one of the things that our engineering team does is every time they roll out like a new version, they buy different goldfish and they name that goldfish that version, and it's a big thing. They really like that. So it's, everyone celebrates in different ways. So I think you need to allow them to do that. And the problem is you can't like really dictate culture when you start to become a bigger company. So you sort of need to allow them to do that. But I think the best ways to open up communication is just by integrating people as much as possible. Any other questions? Cool. Well, thank you for having me.
We hope you enjoyed this program. For more information on Founder Factory and the Philly Startup Leaders, visit phillystartup.leaders.org. We produce this program in the studios of the Lubetkin Media Companies in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. On the web at beingthemedia.com. For everyone at Philly Startup Leaders and the Lubetkin Media Companies, this is Steve Lubetkin. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you out there on the net. Take good care.